Call the meeting to order. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes of meetings held December 20th and January 2nd, please?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. And we do have one person wishing to address the board. It is on a non-agenda item. So Tiffany Tulke, if you will come forward. And if you'll give us your home address, please, and you'll have 5 minutes.
Okay, 211 West 22nd Street, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. As stated, my name is Tiffany Tulke. I'm here to propose a mandatory mental health course, and in doing so, I originally reached out to the Department of Education and received a great response in doing that and was guided on what avenues to take next. I also emailed every single representative in the state and surprisingly received an overwhelming response in that. I think I had one person who was not for it. So I'm really nervous. I've read it a million times. But, some of you may have read the email already. It's been revised, so I will read it as a letter form. I'm writing to propose a mandatory mental health course to be offered and required taken by every student starting as early as 6th grade. While our state continues to battle an opioid epidemic and the suicide rates continue to skyrocket, I find it crucial to start taking action in ways that would impact the youth currently and long after their educational years. My name is Tiffany Tulke, and I have a 9-year-old son who attends Sioux Falls Public Schools. For over a decade, I have been passionate about a great need to offer mental health to our education, to our youth, and my inspiration comes by way of personal experiences as a teen, the loss of many of my friends, and my significant other in 2015. While the subject of this proposed mental health class would require lengthy conversations and an immense amount of input for finalization and implementation, I believe it is vital to start the conversation now. It is my belief that the lack of mental health guidance and support at a young age, particularly the start of middle school, is in partial the cause of heartbreak and loss of the ones we love today. I also believe that with the proper education on mind training, examples as how to handle situations when they arise, achieving positive emotions along with proper reactions, etc., our youth could see a better tomorrow. While I believe that the main focus of this class should be on educating the youth on issues like depression, anxiety, drug use, and the like, I also think it should provide the essential tools on how to handle issues within ourselves. It should provide the guidance towards self-love, maintain a sense of self-worth, and developing confidence. I feel strongly, and the science supports that, without the right resources and tools given, one may not truly succeed. While it is apparent that many children go on to become productive adult members of society, this is not to say that they do not struggle with inner battles from some form of mental health issue at some point in their lives. Quite the contrary. In fact, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, suggests the prevalence of mental illness is estimated at approximately 1 in 5 youth aged 13 to 18% experience a mental disorder at some point during their life. For children aged 8 to 15, the estimate is 13%. As parents, we often ask ourselves how we can make our children better, providing them with better than we had. We see the loss of our youth at alarming numbers, with depression, drug use, and gun violence as huge concerns. It is within all of these issues that I, although not a licensed psychologist, come forth as one of many strong voices of concerned parents to say that implementation of mental health support in the form of a required course can play the most crucial role in giving our children and our society a better future. The NAMI organization has proposed legislation requiring teachers and caretakers to take mental health courses to recognize when someone is struggling. While I believe that is a great step in the right direction, I do not believe it deeply touches the youth on a practical level that could change lives in much larger numbers. It is said that mental illness can be unknown by our loved ones more often than not. It is from this fact that I believe the course can play a vital role in the successful and healthy future of our children. With true attention to mental health, we offer our youth the realization that they are not alone. along with the comfort in knowing that all, at one time or another, experience difficulties. This will allow them to think critically and access essential tools within them when a situation arises. With this class and this proposal, my intention is to positively impact the youth with the required opportunity for them to learn about their own mental health. Currently, I feel so many people are unaware of how to handle their emotions and therefore result to unhealthy means simply because nobody told them how to deal with something difficult. Many would argue that this educational responsibility lies on parents and within the home. However, without formal widespread attention to mental health, many children aren't getting the support they need and the stigma remains. With this, I fear we will continue to see an exponential rise in lives lost. Mental health aid in this community is incredibly expensive, and oftentimes financial struggle can be the very cause for mental health issues. I believe that having proper support, knowledge, and resources should be of no cost to a family outside of what is already being paid or funded. I think in the long run, if children took a mental health course, both in middle school and in high school, that we would see a drop in these rates of devastation and harm within our own community and abroad. I am unaware of the current state of our local budgets in terms of flexibility and limitations, and I realize that this course may or may not be something that can be...
I'm sorry to have to cut you off. Our rules are 5 minutes. And
that's fine.
I appreciate you coming to the board. That's not easy. I know that. And we will take your suggestions into consideration. So
okay.
Thank you. And I'd like to make the public know that on March 6th, we're actually going to have a work session on what we're doing in the district regarding mental health and counseling. So if you'd like to attend that, it's open to the public. Watch.
All right. May I have a motion for approval of the agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Good news report.
Good evening. You may have seen recently in the news that South Dakota ranks high in the nation for childhood obesity. Of course, that's not great news, particularly for those of us in public schools who work on incorporating physical activity, healthy meals, and also social well-being into every school day for our children. But that problem is sparking some action from 3 of our Edison Middle School honors students. They were named state finalists in Samsung's Solve for Tomorrow national contest. The contest is designed to boost interest and proficiency in science, technology, engineering, and math, also known as STEM. And it's a nationwide contest that challenges public school teachers and students in grades 6 through 12 to show how STEM can be applied to improve their local community. So with that in mind, Lauren Yu, Allie Weber, and Sean Baker are students of Dr. Sharon Andrews in the Edison Honors Program, and they created an app called Calorie Pals that encourages kids to make healthy choices while having a little fun. So tonight they're here to show us their work and demonstrate the app and what that would look like. So I will invite these 3 very intelligent 8th graders to the podium to share their information.
Hello, my name is Lauren. This is Allie and Sean. And we joined a contest called Samsung Solve for the Future, which challenged us to find a community problem and try to solve it. So the problem that we identified was child obesity, and to solve it, we created an app.
I have some statistics. Our home state of South Dakota is ranked in the top 4 of the nation for childhood obesity rates in children aged 2 to 4 years old. By ages 10 to 17, an average of 31.4% of the population is obese, with numbers rising. In our community, this is a big problem, no pun intended. As the situation progresses, more and more organizations are developing apps to help people lose weight. What they are doing, however, is designing them specifically with kids in mind.
Yeah, so I just wanted to walk through our prototype of the app so far. Once again, this is a prototype, so not all the capabilities have been explored so far, but this is sort of a good representation of what it would sort of look like if we were to continue with this project. So we actually changed the name of our app to Healthy Homies to make it more relatable to the younger generation. And the main part of our app would actually be the daily log, where if you click on that tab, then we try to make it as kid-friendly as possible to be able to teach them what foods are healthy and help them track what they're eating, as well as making it fun and engaging for them. So if you just hit go, then you can select which kind of food you ate, and it's all color-coded, so it makes it easier to remember. And it gives you 3 different options of colors. So if it's a green food, then that means it's healthier. If it's blue, then it means it's kind of a medium. And if it's red, then it means that it's not a very healthy food. And if we were to take this app a little bit farther, maybe we'd have like a limitation on the amount of blue or red foods that you could eat, but then it would encourage them to eat more green foods. So just select a food, and then it will tell you how healthy it was for you and stuff, and give you a good, kind of like, it gives you a good job message to kind of encourage you to be healthier. And then it'll go to the log, which this is what the log would look like. It would list the food, and then it would list the color, and then it would track it for you. And then there are other things that we're working on with the app too, as well as the the games, which actually you can, you play different games that are all health related. For example, if you go to like matching or something, then it'll give you some healthy foods that match with it, but then if you get like a bad food, then it loses a life or something. And so then this entire thing is designed to teach them kind of how to make healthy choices in their life. And then if you go back home, each thing that you do, if you like win a game or something, or make healthy choices, then it will actually give you a virtual currency. So each person would be assigned a virtual pet that they get to take care of. So your health kind of, it sort of lines up with their health. So if you make good decisions, then the pet is happy, and so on and so forth. So you can actually go to the store and use your virtual currency that you have unlocked to buy your pet different clothing items and stuff like that. So you can get them like shirts or hats or whatever. And it really encourages them. It makes it relatable to help them make better decisions in life. So yeah.
Any questions?
Did you also include like activity, or is it just food focused on? Yeah.
Yes, actually if you go to the games, then we're kind of working on with the trivia. It's not done yet, but we're kind of thinking about if we were to take this further, then we might make it so that it would have suggestions of different exercises you could do or different things you could do to make your lifestyle more healthy, as well as maybe recipes. Here, Sean, do you want to?
Oh, okay. So we were also talking about, like, if we did move on Samsung, like, we could do, like, a pairing thing where you have, like, a fitness watch or something like that would connect to the app. And it would be able to actually track your exercise and count that into the factor. Like.
Do you get negative dollars for Fortnite play?
I mean, probably.
Very good. Well, we won't talk. Yeah, it's very good. I think if you set the example, if you make it a habit early in your life, it'll stick with you. So very good work. Good job.
Yeah, I love your creativity. I think a lot of adults find themselves using things like MyFitnessPal and things like that. And as a student, it's hard to maybe figure out how does that work, and this doesn't really look like what I really care about. So I love the friendly version of this. It's very targeted towards the age group that you guys are working on. So very nice job. Love it.
Yeah.
And in the contest, we were a state finalist, and we were the only middle school in the state of South Dakota. But unfortunately, we didn't continue on.
Well, we're proud of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are you going to continue working on it and maybe submit again next year?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Thank you, guys.
Nice work.
Very good. Thank you. All right, no conflicts of interest tonight. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Supplemental consent agenda 9A, 1 and 2, claims to Sanford. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
opposed, same sign. That motion carries with 2 abstentions, Board Member Mickelson and Board Member Ryder. And we are on to the reports of the superintendent. Dr. Knopf.
Well, thank you. The first report tonight is the fiscal year 18 audit report. Mr. Leek, do I turn this over to you or do I go straight to
Dan?
Okay, we'll go right to Dan Shelsky with RSM, who's here to highlight the audit report. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Dan Shelsky. I'm the engagement leader on the school district's audit. Also with me, I want to acknowledge Jesse Warner and Carly Johnson, who are instrumental members of this year's engagement team. And so as it relates to the financial statement audit, we've prepared a graph summary of the financial statements, as they are quite lengthy. And so this will be a brief snippet or summarized version of those audit results. But certainly if you have questions, feel free to interject at any time, or if you want to wait to the end, that's fine as well. And so as it relates to the status of the audit, it is substantially complete. We do anticipate finalizing over the next couple of days pending approval at tonight's meeting. And so for the financial results of the school district's audit, we'll start by looking at the government-wide statement of net position, in particular the net assets of the net position. And so the government-wide is an all-encompassing view of the district's financial report. It includes both the business type activities and the governmental activities all in one snapshot. This is on the full accrual method of accounting, so that's probably a little different than some of the fund statements you're used to seeing on a monthly basis that would be on a modified accrual accounting. So in this statement, this does include the accumulation of costs for fixed assets as being capitalized in the report. It also includes capital outlay certificate liabilities as being recorded as liabilities in the financial statements versus being expensed as those are incurred in some of the other financial statements that you're used to seeing. And so if we look at the changes this year, total net position increased about $9 million. That's primarily the main components of that, or the main buckets that increased in would be in that light purple column, the $75 million, which is the pension portion of the restricted net position. The district does record its proportionate share of the SDRS pension plan on its financial statements, and that increased from about $35 million to $55 million this year. Also to note of the district's ending net position, $165 million in the lower portion of the column is restricted for capital assets net of related debt, leaving an unrestricted portion of $7 million this year. Move on to the individual fund statement financial performance. We'll start with the general fund. Should be noted that this is a major governmental fund, so this is on the modified accrual basis or modified accrual basis of accounting. This is always considered a major fund for reporting purposes. The district had planned to use $5 million of fund balance this year, but actually only used $2 million, and that's primarily due to tax revenue being about $1 million over budget, and expenses for textbooks were about $1.8 million less than budget. Of that $13 million ending fund balance, about $12 million is considered unassigned, and that would be on an annual basis about 7% of the district's fiscal year 2018 expenditures. For the general fund revenues by source, this shows it by local taxes, state sources, federal grants, and other. You can see on a year-over-year basis, the total revenues increased this year from $164 million to $170 million in 2018. That's a $6 million increase, or about 4% over the prior year, and that's mainly due to an increase in state aid, which is shown in that light purple column. That's the tallest there. From an expenditure standpoint, total expenses increased as well this year from $170 million to $175 million. That's about a 3% increase, and that's mostly attributable to an increase in wage and number of FTEs of about $2 million, and also an increase in textbooks and supply expense of about $2 million over the previous year. Next, we have a pie chart summary of the previous 2 slides for the general fund, summarizing the major sources and uses of its revenues and expenditures. You can see that local taxes and state sources compose most of the general fund's support, about 88% this year collectively, while most of its expenditures relate to salaries and benefits, 83% in 2018. Next, we'll move on to the Special Education Fund, which is also a major governmental fund on the modified basis accrual of accounting. The district had planned to use about $1.7 million of fund balance this year, but actually used just under $3 million, and that was mainly due to federal and state revenues being about $2 million less than budget, and salaries, benefits, and tuition costs were about $850,000 more than planned. The general fund revenues and expenditures shown here. You can see the total revenues are relatively flat, just over 41 million in both years. However, there were some changes in the mix of revenues. State aid and local taxes increased collectively about $3.3 million, while the federal grants decreased $3.2 million this year. From an expenditure standpoint, total increase from 42 million to 44 million in 2018. That's an increase of about 5%, and as mentioned, that's mainly due to increases in the number of employees and wages and also tuition costs this year. The pie charts for the Special Education Fund show that about 80% of the revenue collectively is from state aid and local taxes for the support for the SPED fund, while most of the expenditures are directly related to salaries and benefits, 83% in 2018. This slide shows a summary of the capital outlay fund and also the related capital project funds for capital improvement, the hail damage, the elementary project, and middle school. Based on revenues being greater than expenses this year, the fund balances in those funds actually increased $3 million to $15 million. That's about a 5% increase. It should be noted of that ending portion, $14.6 million is restricted for capital outlay and debt service, which is the blue color shown there. The post-secondary vocational fund, this fund accounts for all of the governmental activities at Southeast Technical Institute. This is a major special revenue fund. It's also on the modified accrual basis of accounting. It should be noted that this fund is somewhat unique in that capital improvements are financed through this fund, whereas other governmental funds of the district have it financed through the capital outlay fund or capital project fund. The district had planned to break even this year in this fund, but actually used about $259,000 of fund balance, and that was mainly due to transfers from the STI governmental fund to its other enterprise funds. That resulted in a decrease of fund balance of about 5% this year. Next, we have a summary of the food service fund, which is a major enterprise fund. It's on a full accrual method of accounting. From a revenue standpoint, revenues increased about $141,000 this year. That's mainly due to an increase in federal reimbursements of $150,000. Expenses actually decreased on the graphs, and that's really due to the changes in the STRS pension amounts as they flow through the financial statements. So that actually changed from being an expense last year to being a reduction of expense this year based on the district's portion of that flowing through the report. And that was about $600,000 reduction in expenses. And so that resulted in an increase in net income this year in the food service fund, which on the next slide for the net position in the food service fund, you can see that ending balance is about $8.4 million this year. Of that amount, in the lowest section of the column, $3.7 million is restricted for capital assets. In the middle section, that's $1.5 million that's restricted for the STRS pension amount. And then the upper portion in yellow is about $3.7 million. That's the unrestricted portion of the food service fund balance. The group health insurance fund is next. This is the district's internal service fund that accounts for the self-insurance plans of the district, including for revenues, both the district's premiums and the employees' premiums that make up the revenues for the fund, while the expenses are primarily consisting of the health claims that were paid during the year. From a year-over-year standpoint, this is an internal service fund, so those are generally, from an accounting theory, supposed to be operating about break-even. You can see collectively over the last 3 years, that's about where they've averaged to being a slight surplus. This year, a little reduction in fund balance of about $1 million, primarily due to a small decrease in revenues of about 1%, while health claims increased about 8% this year. And the net position on the next slide, the ending balance of about $9.8 million here represents about 28% of the fiscal year 2018 expense on an annual basis. The last couple of slides refer to the required communications from us as your auditors to those charged with governance. It should be noted that we met separately with the Budget and Finance Committee to talk about these in detail, so this is just a summarized version of those results. As far as new accounting standards, the district was required to implement GASB 75 related to other post-employment benefits this year. That did have a significant impact on its financial statements and required a restatement to the beginning net position and some other accounts of about $14 million of reduction in that beginning net position to record those liabilities. There were also a few other standards, 85 and 86, that were adopted that didn't materially impact the financial statements. The district did record a few audit adjustments based on the results of our procedures, and that related to reduce property equipment and accumulated depreciation in the food service fund, and also to reclassify tuition and fees revenue within the community services fund. There were a few uncorrected misstatements that were identified during the audit. These are misstatements that management's determined are immaterial, and we agree with them in that regard. And those were primarily to reclassify certain payroll liabilities from the payroll holding agency fund to the fund in which those expenses were originally incurred in, to reclassify accounts receivables within the post-secondary vocational fund, to gross up the presentation of the printer and copier receipts in the reprographics fund, and then also to increase receivables revenue and ending net position within the bookstore fund. We did not identify any significant or unusual transactions during the course of the audit, and then we've also listed for your review a summary of the significant accounting estimates that were identified in preparation of the district's financial statements. And the last slide relates to the results of our review of the internal control over financial reporting and also our determination of the district's compliance with federal award requirements. We did not identify any material weaknesses in internal control over financial reporting. We do have one reportable comment related to the review of purchasing card expenditures at STI. It was considered a significant deficiency. From a control standpoint, or excuse me, from a compliance standpoint, we did have one reportable item related to the special education fund and the documentation of payroll requirements for payroll that had been submitted there. It should also be noted that there were a number of other control deficiencies which we separately communicated to management. So with that, that concludes my prepared comments. I'll open it up to you for any further discussion.
Questions for Dan on the report? None. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to just take a second to thank Dan and his team for the audit review that they do, but also Todd Veek, Ken Mosier, and the team here at the school district, and then Rich Kloon and his team out at Southeast Tech. When you think about the number of dollars that run through between the two organizations, to have what I think are really pretty minor adjustments that need to be made, that I think speaks to the professionalism and hard work that we receive from the business offices. So thank you very much for that. So may I have a motion to approve the audit report?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Okay, the second report tonight is the district-run mentor program. Here to give that report is Dr. Teresa Boyson from Curriculum Services.
Good evening. I'm here to talk a little bit about our district-run mentor program. It follows our strategic plan on district staff and priority statement 6. Sioux Falls School District will explore strategies to retain high-quality staff, and the initiative, we're going to review that and bring that information forward to you. The district mentor program has been in the Sioux Falls District for 3 years. It is part of the Department of Education's created program for mentoring of new teachers, new to the profession in South Dakota, and that was started in 2016. The program focuses on teachers with, they call 0 years experience, so any teacher that comes in new to South Dakota that has never taught before up to 2 years can participate in that state mentor program, just depending on if they have 1 or 2 years experience, how long they can be in the program. So the mentor program is a great benefit for both the mentor and the mentee, and it provides professional learning opportunities for both groups. The mentors attend a face-to-face mentoring seminar, a kickoff where they partner with their mentee, and they attend that 6 hours together. They have 34 hours that the mentor provides support to the mentee. The mentors attend 3 webinars. The Summer Academy, which is a day and a half after school has ended, and they have use of a swivel camera, which we talked a little bit about last year, but it's a camera they can set right in the middle of the room, and then the teacher wears a microphone, and they can place a microphone around it strategically in the classroom. And then that camera follows wherever that microphone is, so that way we can use that to provide instruction and feedback to those new teachers so they can see exactly what's going on. And then the new teachers, again, they attend the kickoff with their mentor. 34 hours, they have undivided attention with the mentor, and they attend the summer academy. So the Sioux Falls district has had it for 3 years, and when you look at the numbers of mentor-mentee matches we've had, the first year it was just an exploratory, just getting started. So we had 18 in that first year, that blue column on the left. 18 teachers participate in that mentor-mentee. Last year we had 19, so that 18 plus 1. So we had somebody come into the district that had 1 year experience so they could participate, so they were new to that. And then we added 54 brand new teachers with 0 years experience. And so we carried that over into this year. And we went from 54 to 43. So we had some teachers that moved for various reasons, out of state or with a spouse. But then we brought on 46 brand new teachers. And the number's a little bit lower than the 54 last year, but we have to remember we put 30 LIA teachers back into the classroom. And so that took some of our brand new teaching spots. So again, great program to help the growth of those new teachers. So when we look at that, the mentors and the mentees, they set new goals, they establish connections in the buildings, and throughout the year, the mentor and the new teacher document that 34 hours of meeting time required by the Department of Education. In addition to meeting with the mentor, the new teacher is also required to meet with the instructional coach. And they set student-focused goals, review data, lesson plans, classroom management, student engagement, and high-impact teaching strategies. Again, this is the beginning of the 3rd year for the program. So last year, at the conclusion of the year, we did a survey. The mentors, the new teachers, and the instructional coaches all completed that survey. And the survey revealed that the new teachers were benefiting from that mentoring that's offered within the building, but they also benefit from the instructional coaches who have that teaching pedagogy and those high instructional strategies. However, they were overwhelmed. I have to meet with my mentor for 34 hours, and then my instructional coach is coming in, and you're telling me this, and my instructional coach is telling me this, and I just want to do the very best I can in the classroom. So looking at that information and looking at what they nationally, we have, I want to go one more. Nationally, they say 40% of the new teachers only stay in the profession 5 years or less. Knowing that it's crucial to get those high impact strategies to those teachers to make sure they're successful, we review our strategies here, and we currently have 78% retention rate of our new teachers in the Sioux Falls School District. So what can we do to keep that retention rate and do the very best? So moving forward, it was suggested that we have our instructional coaches be our mentors. So our instructional coaches are our mentors for our new teachers coming into the district. They have those instructional strategies, but the buildings also just align them up with, here's a teaching colleague that's right next door, or somebody within your same discipline to help support you. So moving into this year, that's how we've structured our mentor program to make sure that we have the best teachers working with our new teachers so we can have that high retention rate. And when we look at our teachers in the Sioux Falls School District with 0 to 5 years experience, we have 1,626 teachers, and that's classroom teachers. We have others that are classified as teachers, but those are our teachers in the classroom. So 23% of our classroom teachers have 0 to 5 years experience. So we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can do to support them. And there's the breakdown of at each level. And when we look at mastery, Gladwell will tell us it takes a minimum of 10 years through deliberate practice to obtain mastery. And so when we think of having new teachers 0 to 5 years, we want to make sure that they're working with those masterful teachers. So coaches have the power to influence teaching and student learning and school culture, so effective coaches can ensure 90% of the staff are learning transfers into that classroom. So in summary, nationally 40% of new teachers leave the profession within 5 years. Evidence suggests that strong mentoring and induction of novice teachers can be a valuable strategy to retain new teachers and improve their effectiveness. The district-run mentor program, in collaboration with the State Department of Education, provides teachers with 0 years teaching experience access to a mentor for 2 years. So they can stay in that program until they've completed their 2nd year of teaching. With that, I'll stand by for any questions.
Well, congrats on our retention rate. I mean, we can always improve it, but thank you for working through that and doing that. And I had a question that you answered, but I thought it was informative to others. You know, my big question was for our teachers who aren't new teachers, the 0 to 2, if they change grades or maybe if they go from biology to chemistry, for example, you know, with that, they don't qualify for this program, but they do qualify for the instructional coaching, and that's how we're supporting them, correct?
That's correct. Our instructional coaches are there for any teacher. So it doesn't matter if you're a first-year teacher or a 25-year veteran teacher. Our instructional coaches are there to help support all of them. A teacher that would move a level, so if I went from elementary to middle or middle to high, or chemistry to biology or algebra to geometry, all have access to those instructional coaches. And in that middle school and high school, they're content specific, so they are there to support them.
Thank you.
I know there was some, I know you can read it in the report, but maybe just verbally say there's some money attached to that too. So can you just comment on that?
Yes, I will. So the Department of Education has funding that is available for mentors. And so our instructional coaches are our mentors for our classroom teachers, but we don't have instructional coaches in the fine arts area, PE or special ed that are wide enough to be able to support all those new teachers. We have some in special ed, but they're really working. There's a select few. So in those areas, we assign a teacher to be their mentor, and then they are reimbursed for the state for their time in those 34 hours. Our instructional coaches, that's a part of their teaching duties, so they do not receive that stipend. The district does receive part of that back, but we're using that money to enhance our instructional coaching program through a coaching academy and working through building the capacity of all our instructional coaches to meet the needs of all of our teachers across the district.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Boyce? Thank you. May I have a motion to acknowledge the district-run mentor program report, please?
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Okay, our final report tonight will come to you from Operational Services and Jeff Kreider to talk about our 2019 construction projects. Mr. Kreider.
Okay, this is actually a public hearing for these projects. We have six projects. I don't know if you want to stop between them or just wait to the end since we have such a large crowd behind us.
We're saying that we'll wait until the end and ask for public input in the hearing process.
Okay. Right now we have 6 projects. The first 3 are the bond, related to the bond, and the last 3 are capital outlay projects. So the first one we're bringing tonight is the Northwest High School. This project, we construct a high school on a 40-acre site in northwest Sioux Falls on Marion Road between Madison and Maple Street, adjacent to Southeast Tech. The new facility will be a new building design. The design process is underway. We've been working on that for about 3 months now. The facility will be approximately 305,000 square feet and designed for approximately 1,800 students. The project will include all the construction, site work, parking lots, football field, track, and any related construction for the project. And we'll also include Terry Avenue as part of that project. And we'll be working with Southeast Tech to possibly extend that to the end of their property, so they only have to do this once. when we go through that process. The project will be delivered using the construction manager at risk process, with bid packages being issued spring of 2019 and continuing to 2020. The project completion is scheduled for spring of 2021 for a fall of 2021 opening. So we're still on track for that. It's tight. It's a lot of work yet to do, but it's moving forward. The project estimate remains at $84.7 million, and that will include everything, including assessments, zoning, streets, the land, and so forth. Plus, there's about $12 million in the plan for inflation that gets distributed through all those projects. So you'll see that line item, and there's an allocation that we'll look at as we move forward and get them scheduled. So that's the first one. Second one is the new Southeast Middle School. That's also a bond project. This will be constructed on a 23-acre site on the northwest corner of 41st Street and Faith, and that's east of Veterans Parkway. So it's right on the edge of our district. The new facility will be a planned reuse of the current George McGovern Middle School, with minor modifications and additional 5 classrooms for special education. We had a meeting last week with principals, staff, curriculum people to go through what they like, what they didn't like, is there any changes we could do, and that went real well. So we're going to implement some of those things last week. So I think we had a great meeting last week on that, and we're moving forward with some of the preliminary designs with that. And we'll bring that to you at a later date as well. Facility will be approximately 190,000 square feet, designed for approximately 1,000 students. The project will also include parking lots, football fields, track, and also the construction of Faith Avenue, which we're working with the church that will be sharing in the costs of that construction project, that road project. So we're looking at bids early summer of 2019, with completion scheduled for spring of 2021. For also a fall of 2021 opening. So a lot of work to do. That project, that includes roads, land, everything, for about $43.1 million. The third and final bond project for this year will be Memorial Middle School, the music edition. We're going to construct a new orchestra and choir room on the north side of the music area. We'll renovate the existing spaces for practice areas, some additional storage to meet the district facility standards. And we're planning on bidding that this winter, with completion of August 2019. This will also give one additional classroom, so there'll be one additional room over there as well. That project is estimated at $1.2 million, and plus the inflation as well. The next 3 projects are included in the capital outlay fund. John Harris Music Area renovations. We're going to renovate the existing music area and get it to standards by reclaiming space from the old computer lab, which they phased out. It's a small, narrow room, a resource room, and a multi-purpose. By modifying this, we're going to have a new band orchestra classroom to standards, general music classrooms, and 1 full-size classroom. And they'll all meet the standards. Project will also we'll run some maintenance projects with that by replacing some exterior lighting and so forth, where it makes sense to include that in this bid. Project is scheduled to bid the winter of 19, with completion by August 19. That project is budgeted in the 19 and in the upcoming capital outlay budget. That estimated project is $345,000. Fifth one is Axtell Park Phase 1 Air Conditioning Replacement Project. That project will begin the process of removing the existing self-contained air conditioning units that are in the classrooms and converting to a central chilled water system with VAVs and air handlers. So I don't know if that all makes sense to everyone, but that's going to get it up to what a current facility would do, what we would do with a new facility. All those existing units in the classrooms are very noisy, and they're at the end of their life cycle. They're probably about 3 years past their life cycle. But the system will be more efficient and will greatly improve the acoustics in the classroom. It's going to improve the classrooms immensely when we get this thing done. We're going to phase in the entire facility. This is going to be about a three-phase project, And you'll probably see phase 2 next year, which will pick up some of the gyms and the auditoriums. Phase 3 will probably be in 15 to 20 years. So some of the newer stuff we will not change out until the life cycle hits that mark. But we're positioning everything in the building to accomplish that when we get there. So this also is in this current year budget and next year's capital outlay budget, and this is $1.2 million. And the final one is Terry Redland Elementary, East Parking Lot and North Drop-Off Lane Project. We're going to construct a new parking lot east of the school where we've been acquiring the houses for the last 10 years. We've accomplished that, so we're going to move forward with that, provide 60 additional parking stalls. I shouldn't really say additional because there isn't a parking lot there. We're also going to expand the parent drop-off area along Austin Street in the front of the school. And this project's going to be bid spring of 2019 and scheduled for a fall 2019 completion. Once again, this is budgeted in the 19 and 20 capital outlay budgets. Estimated cost is $493,000. Now this one, if anybody's interested, we have a public neighborhood meeting on Thursday from 5 to 7 scheduled. So you're all welcome to attend to see how the neighbors respond to it. And because we are looking at closing Highland Avenue off, vacating that street, so we can do some of the setbacks. It's still going to be, I don't think anybody in the neighborhood will notice that street will be closed, but it'll allow us to park on both sides of the street. But it's still going to have access, and the utilities will still run through there. So with that, we better have a public meeting.
All right. Public hearing is open. Anyone wishing to come up and ask questions, comment? Going once, twice, 3 times. Okay. Public hearing portion is over.
Okay, so the administrative recommendations is to acknowledge the public hearings and authorize administration to complete the planning process and proceed with the bidding phase of the projects now, with the exception of the high school and middle school, which we'll be bringing to you multiple times throughout this spring. So you'll probably have another opportunity to approve us moving forward with those projects. So
may I have a motion to acknowledge?
So moved. Second.
Discussion? So you'll bring the rest of the Axtell stuff to us in 15 years, you said?
I might not be here for that one, but I don't know.
Okay.
We'll see. But next board meeting we'll be presenting some of the schematic, the early conceptions of the high school site and building, and some visuals. So I'm looking forward to that.
Great. Thank you, Judge.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Discussion?
Keep on moving.
Yeah. That's right. All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries, and we are on to policy review revise.
All right, it's
Carly.
me. All right, so we have just a handful of policies that we're bringing to you today. These are all for review revision, just due to some minor language changes and updating. So just a reminder, we do review these on a routine scheduled basis, and so these were the ones that were up for review. So the first one, GBGA, and its accompanying regulations, staff health, communicable disease control. Added some language on guidance on staff medication use and regulations to current practice. JLCA, routine health screenings, again, updating language to current practice. JLCB, immunization of students, just making it more clear for those who are reading it. JLCD and its accompanying regulation, medication administration. No changes to the policy itself, just added some non-district building use language that wasn't there before. And JC, school attendance areas, added language to consider construction of new school buildings and to include that students, parents, and community input would be gathered when developing new boundaries. So again, no significant changes. Therefore, these are all review revised, and so I would move to approve their review and revision of the stated policies. And can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to review revise 11A through E. Any questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you. And to set the school board election date, business manager Veek is going to walk through that for us.
Thank you. The most relevant part of STCL 13710 states that the annual election for school districts shall be held between the second Tuesday in April and the third Tuesday in June between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. on the day of the election. The school board shall select the date of the election by resolution no later than the first regular meeting after January 1st of each year. This year the school board will have 2 vacancies when the terms of Kent Elberty and Carly Ryder expire. In even-numbered years, the district combines with the city of Sioux Falls to hold elections as allowed by state statute, but since we're in an odd-numbered year, there is no city election, so we'll have to have one on our own. In your materials and on the screen is the proposed timeline for an election. Caps off with setting May 21 as the election day. You'll also find a formal resolution in your materials, and we would recommend that the board approve the resolution designating May 21, 2019 as election day.
May I have a motion to approve the resolution, please?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you, Todd. Any further business to come before the board? If not, may I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
We are adjourned. Thank you.